I was invited to play a Pokemon tournament in the most creative rule set, Draft League. In Draft League, you pick 10 Pokemon to be your squad, but the catch is that each Pokemon can only be used by one player. If you really want Charizard for your team, but somebody else picks it, tough cookies. But maybe instead of Charizard, the 0.01% usage Houndoom can take its place. The good picks get used up fast, and the key to winning is getting the most out of traditionally bad Pokemon. This league is being played in Regulation H, which bans all legendary Pokemon, sub-legendaries, and paradox Pokemon. I decide I want to build around the Sun archetype, with strong Fire-type attackers getting a damage boost, and strong Grass types getting a speed boost from their Chlorophyll ability. I'm 4th pick in the draft, and the choosing starts. Pick 1, Whimsicott. Pick 2, Archaludon. Pick 3, Dragapult. This is wild, because the best Pokemon in the format hasn't been picked yet. Sneasler. Strong and fast, with a huge move pool, including one of the most broken moves ever, Diaclaw. Just the name strikes fear into the hearts of VGC players everywhere. A no drawback 80 base power physical poison move, with a 50% chance to poison, paralyze or sleep. Incredibly spammable, and hitting the 1 in 6 for a Diaclaw sleep can be game winning. We're not playing Sun anymore, we're playing Sneasler. I go back to the lab and cook up a whole new team with Sneasler at the centre. Here's what I came up with. It is my belief that in draft, your higher tiers should be your attackers, and your lower tiers should be your supports. Illumise is 90% as good as Whimsicott, but Beartic is much, much worse than Baxcalibur. To that end, I start with my offense, Baxcalibur, Kingambit, Swampert and Skeledirge, each filling a unique role type rise, and generally comboing well with Sneasler, be it Kingambit dealing with the ghost types, which resist both Sneasler's stabs, or Baxcalibur being an excellent recipient of Sneasler's coaching, boosting its already sky-high attack and defense. In the mid-ground, I add Reuniclus, a hybrid support/offense Pokemon, able to set Trick Room for Kingambit, then abuse the reverse speeds itself with its snail's pace 30 base speed. Finally, the raw support, Vivillon, Stantler, Electrode and Grookey, all providing some way of controlling the speed of the battle, the single most important stat in Pokemon. These team members lack offensive stats, but make up for it with their outstanding move pools and abilities. These really are my bottom of the barrel picks. Vivillon has some usage in standard play, but the other 3 have 0.01% usage or less, being completely outdone normally. But in this context, they're exactly what I need. Sure, Porygon 2 might be a bulkier, Eevee-like Trick Room setter than Stantler, but Porygon only wishes it had Stantler's Intimidate or Frisk abilities, or its access to the support moves Reflect, Light Screen and Helping Hand. Yes, today these underdogs will do well. My squad is set, the rock-climbing Weasel and his friends. Let's see what we can do. Week 1, I'm paired into a Golden Go team, the only available Pokemon which is fully immune to both Sneasler's stab attacks. The biggest problem on their team, though, is the enabler, Kilowattrel. If it sets Tailwind, doubling their team speed for 4 turns, I'll likely get run over by their powerful attacks. Nothing on my team can naturally outspeed and one-shot it, not even taking into account the likelihood that it could be holding the Focus Sash, able to live any one hit. If I try and use Sneasler's Fake Out to prevent it from moving for a turn, it could be holding the Covert Cloak item, preventing the flinching getting Tailwind up. The possibilities seem too many. Surely I can't cover for everything. Actually, I can. Introducing Choice Scarf Icicle Spear Baxcalibur, able to outspeed Kilowattrel, the multiple hits of Icicle Spear KO through Focus Sash, and with Baxcalibur's sky-high attack, only the minimum 2 hits are required. Knowing I can deny their speed control, I pack the rest of my team with strong attackers. Sneasler, Kingambit and Skeledirge, Stantler to support with Trick Room plus damage reducing screens, and Vivillon to support with a Tailwind of my own. We start game 1 and the plan goes off without a hitch. Keira with his O-code on the very first turn. Sneasler is now the fastest Pokemon on either of our teams, and pretty much just cleans up by itself, with a little help from Skeledirge and a timely Diaclaw sleep into Taurus. I end up winning without losing a single Pokemon. This, however, is a best of 3. I've won the game, but I need another to win the set. Leading Keira went so poorly for them game 1, I'm confident they won't need it again, so I decide to try my Trick Room mode, Stantler. I lead Kingambit, hoping to bait Golden Ghost Terror again, and getting the call half right. They do Terra Fighting as I switch Kingambit to Skeledirge, but instead of locking into Terra Blast Fighting, they trick a Choice Scarf onto Skeledirge. Truly, I'm not unhappy about this. The speed boost on Skeledirge is welcome. Even though I can only select one move, locking into Torch Song boosting my special attack every turn is fine with me. Stantler sets up Light Screen, and with that damage reduction, Skeledirge takes Shadow Ball into Make It Rain, living on just 4 hit points. With that crucial survive, Skeledirge KOs Goldengo. The game is mine. My second week is against a team captained by Dragonite. Now, Baxcalibur can one-shot Dragonite, but Dragonite can one-shot Baxcalibur, so who wins? Whoever's faster. Enter Electrode. At a blistering 150 base speed, Electrode will move before their entire team. A set custom made to guarantee me speed control. Electroweb and Thunderwave to slow down the opponent, and Taunt to prevent any speed reversing Trick Room shenanigans. Game 1 they try for a Dragon Cheer strategy, boosting Dragonite's crit rate to 100% and allowing it to fire off 0 drawback Draco Meteors, critting through the special attack drops. Unfortunately for them, Electrode is there. Sceptile's faster than Baxcalibur? Not after an Electroweb. Bye bye Sceptile. Magmar protecting Dragonite with Follow Me? Not after a Taunt. Bye bye Dragonite. Electrode even manages to get a KO itself, 2 Thunderbolts picking up Mienshao. What a guy. The dominance doesn't stop in game 2. The opponent pivots to a Swallow strategy, going for Stuffed Cheeks to double its defense, then Body Press to attack using its defense stats. Unfortunately, you can't stuff your cheeks after a taunt from my Electrode. A second kill on Mienshao later, Electrode finally goes down to a Leaf Storm from Sceptile, but it's done its job. Kingambit has gotten up a Sword Stance and a Terra Dark +2 Kowtow Cleave carves up the rest of the team. A second 2-0 victory. Week 3, my opponent has a Sand-based team. Tyranitar's Sand Stream ability whipping up a Sandstorm whenever it switches in. Excadrill and Houndstone both have the Sand Rush ability, doubling their speed in Sandstorm and making these normally middling speed Pokemon able to outspeed even my Electrode. To cap it off, they have Volcarona, a deadly Quiver Dance Sweeper, or a Rage Powder Tailwind support Pokemon. Its Flame Body ability threatens a 30% chance to cripple all my physical attackers with Burn if they use a contact move into Volk. Creative team building isn't just about using unconventional Pokemon though, it can also be about using conventional Pokemon in unconventional ways. Rock Tomb is a bad move. A low 60 base power, not even 100% accurate, and dropping a single opponent's speed one stage is a B tier secondary effect at best. But also, it's 4x super effective on Volcarona, and doesn't make contact. Kingambit would normally lose to a Volcarona, but now it's clawed some of that advantage back. Or, what if you wanted a Sneasler, which could live an attack from Excadrill, but Sandchip makes Focus Sash useless? Then maybe Shuckerberry is the play, halving the damage from one super effective ground type move, at the same time as activating Sneasler's Unburden ability, doubling its speed and meaning it'll outspeed Excadrill even in Sand. In game 1, Diaclaw OHKOs a frail Hitmonlee, though max physical defense Volcarona manages to live Rock Tomb after setting up a Tailwind. Sneasler KOs Volcarona, and I luckily don't get Flame Body burnt. With my Sugarberry activating, Sneasler's able to live Excadrill's high horsepower, 2 close combats KOing Excadrill and Direclaw picking up a Terraflying Tyranitar. Sneasler took all 4 KOs this game, and I didn't lose a single Pokemon. Game 2, they're not going to let me do the same thing again, leading Meowstic and getting the Turn 1 OHKO on Sneasler with 4x super effective Psychic. But my plan this game is no longer Sneasler based. We're playing Trick Room. I once again get a lucky Flame Body dodge as Volcarona switches in on a Kowtow Cleave. Through my first Trick Room, I only managed to get KOs on Volcarona and Tyranitar, the opponent preserving their Excadrill with strong defensive play, protecting on my double ups. However, Meowstic and Excadrill have no way of stopping Reuniclus from hitting a second Trick Room. They try protecting their Excadrill again, but I'm wise to their tricks and KO the Meowstic. Excadrill loses the 1v2, and I take the sets. Game 2 did not start out great. Game 1 was won on prep, but my comeback in Game 2 was won on play. And as the opponents get tougher and tougher, I'm going to need both. Still, a comfortable victory. We move on. Week 4, I'm up against a Sun team with a strong Trick Room core in Porygon 2 and Ursaluna. Now, here are the 2 most common Sun teams in the format. Notice how this one has 3 fire resistances and this one has a whopping 4 fire resistances. That's because a Sun team's true weakness isn't water types or ground types, it's other strong fire types. I present to you Choice Specs Terrafire Skeledirge. I'm going to use that Own Weather against them, boosting my moves. Honestly, I'm so confident in this, I don't even need to strategize. Let's just click some buttons. Game 1, Overheat OHKO's Ursaluna. Switch out. Sacrifice. Heatwave, double kill. Heatwave, and a Psychic to clean up. That was still too much thinking. Game 2, Lead Skeledirge. Heatwave. Heatwave. Terrafire Heatwave. Heatwave can miss, I should probably cover for that. Switch out. Sacrifice. Oh, Glaive Rush KOs anyway. Nice. This was a game won entirely in the team builder. One specific set of 1 Pokemon solved this entire match, and I correctly identified it. I'm on top of the world. Week 5, Annihilate, and a bunch of support pieces. I don't want to hit Ape, don't want to boost its Rage Fist, so how about Toxic Sneasler, racking up damage over time. Game 1, Sneasel goes for Fake Out turn 1, as Baxcalibur Glaive rushes it down to Sash. Ice Shard picks up the KO next turn. No side beat up for you. They Terra Steel their Annihilate, gaining an immunity to Toxic, but no matter. Magmortar comes out, coaching into Glaive Rush, dead. Grimmsnarl out. Direclaw gets a Lucky Poison, cured by Grimmsnarl's Lumberry, sure, but now I know Annihilate isn't holding the Lumberry. If it doesn't Terra, then it won't be able to heal its Toxic. Grimm goes down to Ice Shard. Bax drops the Rage Fist, and 2 Torch Songs from Skeledirge win me the first game. Crucially, in this endgame, I don't reveal my final move on Sneasler, Brick Break. I'm strongly bluffing Fake Out or Protect her. Game 2, they lead the same and I lead the same. They lost Game 1 because they didn't get a beat up off into Annihilate, and they probably think they can get away with it. I correctly predict no Fake Out as I Shard into Brick Break KO Sneasel before it can move. No Game 2 beat up either. Salamence comes in, trying for a pathetic Intimidate, but my superior planning wins out. Clear Amulet on Baxcalibur and White Herb on Sneasler negate the attack drop on both my Pokemon. I split my attacks here, Toxic into Annihilate and Ice Shard into Salamence. Only one can Terra and the other is toast. Salamence goes Terrafire, shrugging off the Ice Shard, but Sneasler lands Toxic into Ape. They're on a timer now. Dual Wing Beat KOs Sneasler, but it served its purpose. Bax takes a +1 super effective Drain Punch, but lives like the absolute unit it is. Skeledirge comes in, Terra Fairy giving immunity to the Salamence's Outrage, but I double into Annihilate's Protect. No damage is dealt this turn. Annihilate switches out into Magmortar, comfortably taking Skeledirge's Shadow Ball, and Bax protects itself from Salamence. Looking to save Baxcalibur, I switch out into King Gambit, but they double the other slot, bringing Skeledirge down to red. And I realise I'm slowly being outplayed. King Gambit's Lumberry cures it from Magmortar's Will-O-Wisp, but Skeledirge goes down to Salamence's Dual Wing Beat. I make a play, predicting Baxcalibur won't be targeted this turn. I protect King Gambit from Magmortar's Will-O-Wisp. Salamence sets up a second Tailwind and Baxcalibur KOs Magmortar. Annihilate comes out and is threatening KOs onto either of my Pokemon. It's on a Toxic timer, but the timer isn't ticking fast enough. I decide I need to go for the 1 in 3 double protect on King Gambit, stall one more turn. RNGesus blesses me and I get it. Still, they have near guaranteed win here. If they click Tailwind with Salamence, failing to do anything but dodging King Gambit's Sucker Punch, and Drain Punch with Annihilate into King Gambit, I need a 1 in 9 triple protect to win. But also, that was their correct play last turn, and they didn't click it. Should I gamble on the 1 in 9, or predict them to misplay? Either they don't see it, or predicted me to go for the triple. Sucker Punch KOs Salamence, and with the help of Toxic Chip, Baxcalibur KOs Annihilate. I should have lost that game, but I didn't. I was too proud, played too safe, and it very nearly cost me. Prep and play are important, but I need my mental to be there as well. I resolve to focus up, and move into next week. Week 6 is against a rain team with a Perish Trap mode. I have a fairly straightforward solution this week. Terra Dragon, Dragon Fang, Glaive Rush Baxcalibur Oko's nearly their whole team, and Sneasler can semi-reliably deal with the Archaladon, which survives Glaive Rush. Send it. I'm going to play well, methodical and measured. Take the full time for each move, think through each action. They lead Fletchling and Toxicroak into my Baxcalibur and Sneasler. Sure, I could try for the Glaive Rush KO on either mon, but methodical and measured. I switch Baxcalibur for Skeledirge, a strong defensive profile, into the board state. Fake Out fails into Skeledirge as Fletchling sets up Tailwind. Sneasler brings Fletchling down to Focus Sash with Direclaw. Any status would be strong here, and I'm rewarded with the Paralysis, counteracting the Tailwind speed boost. Turn 2, Toxicroak reveals Sucker Punch. It unfortunately can hit Skeledirge. I'm happy trading blows back and forth. Sneasler's Focus Sash gives me security. The opponent needs 3 hits to clear my side at any time. We arrive in an endgame of King Gambit and Baxcalibur against Basculegion and Politoed. Bask locked into Aquajet by its Choice Band. I direct Baxcalibur to use his Earth-Shattering attack. Terra Dragon, Dragon Fang, Glaive Rush goes into the Politoed, and it lives on 1 HP. Due to that survive, Politoed sets up Perish Song. Every Pokemon on the field will faint in 3 turns. Crucially here, the last Pokemon to faint is the winner, and Pokemon faint in speed order. This means that the slowest Pokemon still alive at the time the song comes into effect wins. Right now the order from slowest to fastest is King Gambit, then Politoed, then Baxcalibur, then Basculegion. I need Politoed gone, and they need to remove King Gambit. We both attack with our faster Pokemon, and protect with our slower one, then both attempt the 1 in 3 double protects. I get it, and they don't. Bax KOs Politoed, and then Basculegion for good measure before the song even kicks in. I win game 1. Game 2 I opt for the same lead, as my opponent goes for the Perish Trap right away, Gothitelle and Politoed. I go for Coaching and Glaive Rush into the Politoed slot. Slightly more powerful than just Terra Dragon, so hopefully picks up the KO this time. Goth stops Sneasler from moving for a turn with Fake Out, but to my surprise, Poly switches into Archaladon, taking over 50%. They can choose to try and save their Archaladon with Terra, but decide not to as Close Combat deconstructs the bridge. Terra Dragon Glaive Rush goes into Gothitelle, but once again the opponent just barely lives, and Goth sets up Trick Room, reversing the speeds. Politoed comes in, and even with the halved defences from Glaive Rush, a double up is still required to KO Baxcalibur. I decide to double up into the Gothitelle, and Politoed protects, even better. Sneasler goes down to the 4x super effective Psychic, and Bax picks up Gothitelle. They reveal their last Pokemon as Basculegion. With no way to protect itself, Bas goes down to a double up, and to finish the game, Baxcalibur finally picks up an Oko, taking down Politoed. That was much more like it. A 2-0 victory, never in any real danger. After the fiasco that was last week, I'm feeling much more confident again. 6-0 in sets, 12-0 in games. On to the next. Week 7. This is Grookey's time to shine. He's been benched all season, but staring down Electric Terrain Pincurchin and the speedy Dragapult, it's Grookin time. With Throat Chop, Diaclaw and Close Combat, Sneasler has excellent coverage into their team, and holding a Grassy Seed, it can become easily the fastest thing on the field. When Grookey switches in, Sneasler's Grassy Seed will get used up, activating its Unburden ability and doubling its speed. We round out the team with Assault Vest Baxcalibur for the likes of Sylveon Pincurchin and Alolan Raichu, and Safety Goggles Kingambit to have an immunity to Smeargle's Spore. Game 1 starts terribly. A Draco Meteor from Dragapult Okos my Baxcalibur, who's managed to achieve nothing. After a dance, I claw it back, an endgame of Kingambit and Grookey against Sylveon and Pincurchin. With the Electric Terrain down, I should survive any double up with my Kingambit, and one-shot the Sylveon with Iron Head. They crit. Kingambit still KOs Sylveon, but Grookey doesn't have the damage output to beat Pincurchin. My first game loss of the season. Yeah, I got unlucky, but it had to happen eventually. I've not been in this position so far all tournament, having to win out games 2 and 3 in order to win the set. I focus. Game 2, they try a Raichu game plan, Electric Terrain doubling its speed. Raichu just doesn't have the power or bulk to stand up to my team though, and leaving Sylveon on the bench really hurts them. The game ends up coming down to the fact that Assault Vest Bax lives -2 Draco Meteor. I'm back in it. Winner takes all for the next game. Game 3, I get a lucky Diaclaw sleep on Pincurchin, allowing me to save Sneasler for an extra turn. We once again end up in an endgame with Grookey, Kingambit and Sylveon, though it's Dragapult instead of Pincurchin this time. At this point in the game, Dragapult has revealed Draco Meteor, U-turn and Flamethrower. I've got Fake Out active on Grookey to deny Sylveon from moving, but if Dragapult doesn't die this turn, I lose. The game hinges on what that fourth move is. If it's Protect, I lose, but if it's Shadow Ball, I can safely Sucker Punch into that slot and pick up the Oko. I win, but that was not clean, that was not safe. I need to do better, or a loss, a true set loss, is coming. Week 8, the final week of seeding. At this point, I'm 7-0 in sets and I'm actually guaranteed first seed. My opponent is also guaranteed second seed, win or lose, so we make a deal. We can't use our 3 best Pokemon. I lose Sneasler, Baxcalibur and Kingambit. They lose Ursaluna Bloodmoon, Indeedee Male and Hatterene. Let's see what I can cook with my lower tiers. Even including their top tier Pokemon, they have 0 flying resistances, so this week the star of the show is Choice Specs Pavilion. With Compound Eyes boosting accuracy, Viv can throw off 91% accurate Hurricanes, able to chunk holes in their team. Since this is a Trick Room oriented team, I bring in Prison Trick Room Stantler. After an Imprison, the opponent is never able to click Trick Room while Stantler's on the field, a much more consistent option than Taunt. Finally, Iron Ball Reuniclus, halving its speed and allowing it to underspeed any of their team, even if they're holding an Iron Ball as well. I also give Reuniclus Terra Fighting Blast to turn the tables on Crawdont. Game 1, Viv takes a strong 60% of Alchemy's health, then blows away Weirder. On that same turn, Alchemy sets up Light Screen. Viv goes for the kill, and misses. Revenge killed by Dazzling Gleam. Terra Dark knockoff from Hariyama one-shot Skeledirge. Close combat picks up Stantler. Crawdont's knockoff one-shots Reuniclus. I'm down a game again, the second time in 2 weeks. It's comeback time. Right, where's my Dark Resist? Oh, yeah. Sneasler and Kingambit are banned, I don't have one. Here's the game plan. I need to use my Terra Fighting Reuniclus to beat both Hariyama and Crawdont. I start with Pavilion again, hoping to set Trick Room up on the turn it goes down and underspeed everything with Reuniclus. They lead Dragalge, and I get a super lucky Hurricane Confusion into self-hit, allowing me to KO Dragalge without it getting a single attack off. Crawdont comes in, and KOs Viv as I set Trick Room. The trap is perfectly set. Reuniclus comes in, Terra Blast fighting KOs even through Alchemy's Light Screen, and they live. Crawdont's held Assault Vest boosting their special defense and allowing the survival. Reuniclus takes far too much damage from a Decorate boosted knockoff. Aquajet. Knockoff. Close combat. Outprepped and outplayed. My first loss of the season. Yeah, I'm going into playoffs as first seed, but I'm seriously doubting my ability to perform, especially if I get matched into this same opponent later. This whole tournament has been a slow downward slope, and I wonder, is this a valley or a cliff? Of the 10 players, the top 4 play in a single elimination bracket to determine the champion of our league. But this whole time, there's been a twin draft going on, and the champion of our draft will fight the champion of theirs to determine the grand champion. If I want to win, I need to beat 2 rematches, and then the champion of a whole different league. To start, we have a rematch with the Sun team. Last time, I used Specs Terrifier Skeledirge to power through their team, so I expect they'll bring counterplay to that. Also last time, they didn't bring Jumpluff, in my opinion a mistake, so I think they'll bring it this time. I've decided to pack Taunt Sneasler to shut down both Jumpluff and Trick Room Porygon. I do need to be careful of Mental Herb, though, a tech they've used before. I don't plan on using Taunt until later into the series, when I have a better idea of all the items in play. In the meantime, I have Safety Goggles Baxcalibur to have a Sleep Powder immunity. I load into Team Preview and find their Skeledirge counterplay. They haven't brought Torkoal. I go with my standard game plan, Sneasler Baxcalibur lead with Stantler Kingambit in the back. Inteleon is led from their end and gets 1 attack off before dropping to Baxcalibur. Since they outsped Sneasler though, I know they must be Choice Scarf. Later in the game, I have Gardevoir in front of Sneasler, and by item clause preventing 2 of the same item on a team, I know Sneasler outspeeds and one-shots Gardevoir, except it was never Choice Scarf. Inteleon is the same base speed as Sneasler and theirs is trained to be faster. Gardevoir outspeeds both and takes the double KO. Even an Ice Shard from Baxcalibur would have been enough to put Gardevoir in KO range of Sucker Punch, but as it is, I lose game 1. Generally, my mechanical knowledge of Pokemon is pretty complete, but one miscalculation, thinking Inteleon is 110 base speed instead of 120, cost me this game. Is this how it ends? First seed to losing out in top 8 of playoffs? No. A scrappy game 2 comes down to me having to dodge the 30% body slam paralysis onto their Gardevoir, so my Baxcalibur still underspeeds during Trick Room. Then I have to hit a 90% Icicle Crash. Luck is on my side, and game 2 is mine. We start game 3, and for the 3rd time it's Jumpluff against Sneasler. In the last 2 games they went Terra Water, and the choice of Terra type leads me to believe it's Covert Cloak on Jumpluff. A Mental Herb Jumpluff would most likely be Terra Poison, to avoid Direclaw poison chance and resist Direclaw. I'm confident enough to go for the taunt and deny their turn 1 Tailwind or Sleep Powder. We start the turn, and the opponent makes a misplay. They Terra Fire their Ursaluna on my Icicle Crash. Why is this a misplay, you ask? Icicle Crash does 75% of their health without Terra. Well, fire types can't get burnt, so Ursaluna's Flame Orb will never activate, and neither will its Guts ability. No 1.5xing the damage of all its moves, no 3xing the damage of its Facade. The correct play there was for them to protect for 1 turn, let the Flame Orb activate, then Terastallize, one of the only ways to get a burnt fire type. As well as this, I get a lucky 30% Icicle Crash flinch onto Ursaluna, and Jumpluff fails its Tailwind due to the taunt. With speed control denied, and the ability for the rest of their team to Terra being lost, I proceed to one-shot or near one-shot the rest of their team. Only Porygon impressively lives Helping Hand Close Combat on 1 HP. Top 8. Victory! A huge stroke of luck comes in the other top 8 match of my league. In a clash of Sand and Trick Room, Sand came out on top, my one loss now eliminated from the tournament. Still, this just means I've got to beat the person who beat my better. The Sand team has had some changes since I last faced it. Volcarona became Indeedee female, Meowstic became Slowbro, Staraptor became Rotom Oven, and Lantern became Braviary. On the whole, these changes make their team stronger, but they do open the way for one of my Pokemon to go crazy, Swampert. With Liquidation, Ice Punch and Knockoff, Swampert hits almost their whole team for super effective damage. I give it the Expert Belt to further boost its super effective damage by 1.2x, tipping it over the edge to the point where after a coaching, Swampert now one-shots most of their team. The only thing which threatens Swampert is Superior, but thankfully Sneasler once again has us covered, outspeeding and one-shotting with Direclaw. I round out the team with Baxcalibur and Kingambit for offense, Stantler for Trick Room support, and Grookey for terrain control against their Indeedee. With Focus Sash on Sneasler and Eviolite on Stantler, I don't really know what item to give Grookey. I can't find anything that would be consistently good, so I decide to randomly chuck Rocky Helmet on it, maybe gonna do some chip damage to their physical attackers. Game 1 goes perfectly, the first time in a long time. Coaching boosted Knockoff one-shots Houndstone, Liquidation brings Excadrill to Sash as I set up Trick Room, then Kingambit and Swampert sweep under Trick Room. Game 2 also starts extremely well for me. Braviary misses a 90% accurate dual wing beat into Sneasler, a multi-hit move which would have KO'd Sneasler through Sash. I Terastallize Sneasler to live the dual wing beat next turn, but they correctly target Swampert instead, doubling up with Earthquake for the KO. My luck isn't done yet though, as I get a critical hit to one-shot Braviary. I set up Trick Room, and need my Helping Hand boosted, Black Glasses boosted, Supreme Overlord boosted Kowtow Cleave to KO Tyranitar, but I fall just short. With hindsight, I needed to protect both my Pokemon and let Tyranitar take just one more tick of Sand Chip, but I didn't see it in the moment. Tyranitar one-shots Kingambit with Low Kick, and Stantler can never beat Excadrill. Despite all that positive luck, we're going to a Game 3. I think they're leading Braviary again, which means I can't lead Sneasler. I decide to lead Grookey. For Fake Out Pressure and Grassy Terrain will halve the damage of Excadrill's Earthquake. Grookey and Kingambit into Excadrill and Braviary. Fake Out and Kowtow Cleave takes out the Braviary, as Excadrill goes for a spooky Swords Dance. Tyranitar comes in, and I'm not sure if they want to Terra Flying Blast Grookey or Low Kick Kingambit. I protect both to Scout, but they end up switching Indeedee in for free, a terrible turn. Not only do I have to hit this Excadrill twice because of its Focus Sash, I also need to KO Indeedee first to stop it redirecting. I begin the dance, switching Grookey out for Stantler, but Indeedee protects on my Kowtow Cleave, and both my Pokemon take lots from Earthquake. Kingambit switches for Grookey, who dies to Iron Head but leaves a crucial parting gift. The random Rocky Helmet activates, dealing a sixth of Excadrill's health and breaking its focus sash. Trick Room up. Indeedee tries to catch another attack with its Protect, but Excadrill is sliced and diced by Kowtow Cleave. Despite Indeedee getting the 1 in 3 double Protect, Swampert still comfortably takes both KOs, with a little helping hand from Stantler. I am the Lightning Division champion, with all the glory that entails, but one challenger remains, the Thunder Division champion. As is to be expected, my final opponent has the scariest team I've had to face. First, they have Toedscruel, the fastest Spore Pokemon in the game, able to put my team to sleep before they can move. Thankfully, I have lots of counterplay. Overcoat on Reuniclus and Sap Sipper on Stantler both make them immune to Spore. Also, even though Toedscruel is fast, it has an awful ability, Mycelium Might, making all of its status moves go last in its priority bracket. However, they have Wheezing Galar with the ability Neutralizing Gas, able to turn all other abilities on the field off. No Overcoat, no Sap Sipper, no Mycelium Might. Along with this, they have Annihilate, the biggest problem Pokemon. First, it has an amazing matchup into the heavy hitters of my team, great defensive typing into Sneasler, and great offensive typing into Baxcalibur, Kingambit and Skeledirge. The main set I'm scared of is a boosting set with Bulk Up, raising its damage output and its resistance to all my physical attackers. Ordinarily, I'd simply use Unaware Skeledirge against a setup sweeper, with Unaware ignoring all their boosts. Two problems with this. Number one, Weezing can just shut off my Unaware. And number two, probably the most broken thing about Annihilate, its signature move, Rage Fist. A 50 base power move, which raises by 50 base power every time Annihilate is hit. Crucially, Unaware does not ignore base power increases. A 350 base power super effective Rage Fist still always KOs Skeledirge, even if Annihilate doesn't have any attack boosts. Okay, so just don't hit Annihilate, don't give it Rage Fist boosts and 1v2 it at the end of the game. Nope. Salazzle will simply click Beat Up into its partner Annihilate, hitting 4 times and boosting to 250 base power. How about using Stantler's Intimidate to lower their damage output? Well, first of all Weezing, and second of all Annihilate has the Defiant ability. If I lower any of its stats, its attack will raise 2 stages. Truly a huge problem. The saving grace is that Annihilate can't click a setup move and an attacking move in the same turn. If I can take it out before it gets too many boosts, I should be able to convert from there. The plan is coaching spam into Baxcalibur, meaning I can boost an attack in the same turn. But what if they go Toedscruel Weezing? My lead needs to be able to cover everything. I won't bet the finals on a coin flip. I give Baxcalibur the safety goggles, making it my 1 Spore immunity on the team, and give it the coverage move High Horsepower. With this, it can one-shot an offensively trained Weezing after a coaching boost. My backup plan into Annihilate is Stantler and Skeledirge. Stantler being immune to Rage Fist and trained to live a +2 Drain Punch, can set up Trick Room. Skeledirge will then underspeed Annihilate, and deal huge damage with super effective Shadow Ball. My prep is done. I load into the final match of the season, Titan and Annihilate against my Sneasler and Baxcalibur. As planned, I click Coaching and Glaive Rush into their Annihilate, expecting a bulk up. Instead, they outspeed my Sneasler and also Coaching into their Titan. This Annihilate isn't the bulk up variant, it's Choice Scarf, and drops turn 1 to my Glaive Rush. Titan retaliates, trying to one-shot my Sneasler with High Horsepower, but Sneasler's Focus Sash saves it on 1 HP. Salazzle comes out, and I protect Sneasler from the possible fake-out KO. Instead, Baxcalibur takes the fake-out, and Sneasler protects itself from Titan's priority Ice Shard. Now, I've studied my opponent. My prep this week was immaculate and I've watched their previous matches. I know they're an extremely aggressive player, and I think they're going to predict me to switch out Sneasler. I make the call, staying in and close combating the Salazzle. I get it right. and the combination of Ice Shard and Close Combat KOs Salazzle before it can move. This play is game winning already, and with even more luck on my side, a Dire Claw Sleep into Titan and a Heatwave Miss into Sneasler, I have a dominant victory in my grasp. But I don't just want a game 1 victory, I need to win the set, and that means I need information. On the second last turn of the game, I switch Sneasler out into Stantler, activating its Frisk ability. It shows Assault Vest on Titan and Scope Lens on Hydreigon. This is great information. Assault Vest shows that Titan can't protect, and that I need to be respectful of a 4th coverage move. Scope Lens implies that Hydreigon has Focus Energy, or Salazzle has Dragon Cheer, maybe both. These both boost Hydreigon's crit chance up to 100%, allowing it to ignore the special attack drops from the Draco Meteor it almost must certainly also have. I'm feeling confident going into Game 2. I have good information on their team, as well as the fact they brought an unexpected lead, and my planned lead still worked. In Game 1, I brought Skeledirge to deal with a bulk up Annihilape, but now I know it's Choice Scarf Ape, I'm free to bring my stronger late game sweeper in the back, King Gambit. This time, they lead Salazzle and Annihilape, and I don't really know what to make of this. They're presumably trying to counterlead my Sneasler and Baxcalibur, so to scout what they're going for, I protect both my Pokemon. I am massively rewarded for this, as my opponent once again makes a super aggressive play, clicking Fake Out and U-turn into my Sneasler, predicting just a protect from Baxcalibur. Turn 2, I lock in Close Combat into Annihilape, the Ghost type. If Annihilape stays in, my move will do no damage, but Annihilape cannot stay in. The Undead Monkey watches helplessly as its Choice Scarf drags it out, Hydreigon coming back in its place, eating a Close Combat to the face and dropping in 1 hit. Titan comes out, and Salazzle manages to survive turn 3 by going Terra Ghost, but the writing's on the wall. Sneasler goes down, letting Stantler in, setting up for the Trick Room Wombo combo one last time. Salazzle gets saved from an Ice Shard by switching into Annihilape. Titan even KOs Baxcalibur, but it's all a trap. Trick Room goes up and King Gambit has the full 4 turns to wreak havoc as the fastest thing on the field. Helping Hand, Terra Dark, Black Glass's Supreme Overlord Kowtow Cleave, a 367 effective base power move, KOs Annihilape, one-shots Titan, and in the face of my monster, the opponent forfeits. After such a struggle to get here, in the finals, I dominated. Against the best player in the league, I outprepped, I outplayed. Well, second best. I am your Raikou Division champion.